If you need to write a speech, or maybe if you've written a lot of speeches, you'll know that what you need to do next is write an outline. But where do we start? What's the first thing we should do? How many sections should it include? What's the best kind of opening, and how many points should I use in the middle? Well, all of that is going to be explained as I take you through how to write out your outline for your next speech. Now, you're probably like me, and you're probably sitting there right now with your word processor open or a blank piece of paper in front of you, and the cursor's blinking away on the computer screen, or your pen is tapping on the paper, and you're just waiting or trying to figure out where you should start with your next speech. Now, I've put together a template you can use for any speech, really. Obviously, depending on the length, if it's 5 minutes, you might need to cut it down a bit. Or if you need to speak for over an hour, you might need to add in a few more points. But it's a basic structure that can be used for any type of speech. That is, whether it's a 10-minute, half an hour, 40-minute, the points are still the same and the structure is still the same. So if you want to follow along as we go through this outlining process, check out the description below to download your copy of this template. And it also has a step-by-step guide to outlining and researching your speech. But we're going to focus on the template in this episode. You'll see, if you've just downloaded that template, that any speech should be broken up into 3 sections: the beginning, middle, and end. Yes, we're not breaking new ground. It's the same storytelling structure that has been used for eons. But you know what? It works. It works really well. It's simple, it's easy to follow, and it's easy for you to remember. So if you're new to public speaking, this is definitely the type of structure that you want to use. So beginning, middle, end. So we're going to start with the beginning, as we should always. What should we include in the beginning of our speech? Well, we need to include a hook. The first lines out of our mouth shouldn't be, "Hello there, my name's Lawrence, and today we're talking about outlining," because that's boring. People in the audience already know who you are, most probably, and if they don't, they'll figure it out as we go. They already know what you're going to be talking about because you've probably introduced before you got up on the stage. So there's no need to introduce yourself and introduce your topic. Instead, those first few seconds should be to catch the attention of the audience. And you want to use one of the 4 main hook types. What are they? Well, I've made a whole video about hooks. You can find it here. But briefly, they are a question, a statistic, a bold statement, or a story. Something that really captures that audience's attention. You only have 7 seconds, so you need to make it count. If you don't get their attention in those 7 seconds, they're most likely going to wander off mentally, or they might even get up and walk out, which would be disastrous for your speech. So we need to make sure we really get their attention. And then we want to make a statement of purpose. What is a statement of purpose? Well, it's at the end of this talk, I will show you, I have benefited and I want to help you to benefit from, I believe. One of these statements of purpose helps the audience to understand where we're going and what's the benefit for them. So in this video, I believe that if you follow the outlining process that I give you, that it will give you confidence. And I know from my experience that that will help you to get on the stage and present more confidently. So this is a statement that really helps the audience understand where we're going. Next, we get into the body, the middle of the talk. This is where we get to really dive in to the main points that we want to introduce our audience to and help them to understand why they should benefit or how they could benefit from them. So how many points should we include? Well, depending on the timescale, if you've only got 5 minutes, you can't include more than 1 or maybe 2 main points. If you do, you're going to be rushing through them. They can't be main points if you're literally just saying something and moving straight on. A main point is something we take our time to explain. So let's assume that you've got more than 5 minutes, anywhere from 10 to half an hour to 45. you want to include 3 main points. Now, this is flexible. You can add a few points if you need to. But as a word of caution, if you add too many points, your audience will be overloaded. If you add 28 points to a 45-minute talk, your audience will not be able to remember them all. To be fair, you will struggle to remember 28 points. But how many would they remember? Probably only the best 3 points. So you can see we're using a rule of 3. We've broken our speech into 3 sections, and we're using 3 main points, 3 main key takeaway points for our audience to benefit from. This gives us plenty of time to talk about this, to explain this point, to add in our research or our knowledge, to really dive into the details so that they can understand why this is beneficial or how it benefits them personally. And each one of our points should have that benefit for the audience. So we need to take our time. Why add in so many points when we could just have 3 key points or 4 key points? Something simple, not too many, that we can really get into and explain and help our audience to understand why these points are so beneficial for them. So 3 key takeaway points is really the sweet spot. As I say, you can go lower, you can have 2, or you can go higher, you can have 5 maybe. But if you go too many, you are going to confuse your audience and you're going to lose them. And if they only get to remember the 3 best ones anyway, why don't we just take those best ones and really expound on them, really make them interesting, really support them with well thought out evidence, rather than trying to cram too much down their throats. And then it comes to the conclusion. So we've done beginning, middle, with the key benefits that can be taken away, and then our conclusion. Now, first of all, we want to understand that our conclusion is really, really important. We don't want it to die out like a damp firework. We've gone through all of this effort to capture attention, to hold the attention, to impart information which benefits the audience. And we get to the final part and it's like a damp firework that doesn't go off. Instead, you think about an orchestra that builds to a crescendo. That's what we want to do. We want to build up our talk, and as we get into the conclusion, it is a crescendo. So what we want to do first of all is recap those key points. People know when you start recapping the main points and the benefits for the audience that we're getting towards the end. It signals them to stay connected because we're getting really close to that final crescendo moment. These should definitely reinforce the key takeaways for the audience. These takeaways need to be things that they will benefit from if they apply them, or that could change their thought process and will help them to understand better the topic at hand. Then we want to go to our purpose statement. Remember we said at the beginning, we stated a purpose. And now, hopefully, by the end of this talk, the audience feel that they have benefited from that purpose. So at the end of this talk, I believe, or I know, that you, if you use these points, will benefit yourself when it comes to outlining and then getting on the stage and speaking. So we're using the purpose at the beginning, we're tying it back in. Everybody loves that symmetry where it feels like it's all connected, and they've benefited for staying connected to your talk. And then it comes to the final words you say. Like the opening words, the closing remarks, the last sentence or two that we say, you've probably heard the expression of what is said last is remembered first. So we really want to be careful about what we say. How do we say it? We want to say something powerful, something impactful. And one thing we definitely don't want to do when we get to the end of our speech is to do this. And you make your powerful statement and you close and you go, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I'm really pleased that hopefully you gained something from this and it'll be beneficial for you. That'll be great. And if you want to talk to me afterwards or hang around afterwards, that'll be great. And that maybe should have been included somewhere else or not included at all. Get the umpire or the chairman to say that to the audience, because that is like getting to the crescendo of the orchestra piece and then the trumpet going at the end. It ruins it. It's a distraction. That's not what you want them to be thinking about. You want them to be focused on the final things that you said, because it is most likely what will be remembered first. And if you've done your job properly, they'll be able to use that to remember the rest of your speech. And here's another really good pro tip. As you go through outlining your talk, it gives you a chance to reflect on what you're going to say. And when you're reflecting on what you're saying, think about your audience. Every audience is different. They're made up of different people. And so if you know who you're speaking to, tailor your speech to them. Even if this is a talk that you've given before, maybe you're giving it in a slightly different environment. Maybe you're giving it to a slightly different group of people. Well, then you need to tailor your message for them. If you can do that, your audience will benefit so much more, and they will feel that authenticity, that connection that you are giving to them, because clearly you've put a lot of time and effort into preparing this to them, for them to benefit from. So that's how we outline a speech. And hopefully if you've been following along with the PDF that you can get from my website, like I said, you'll see how to do it, and you'll be able to use this PDF template in the future to write out a great speech. But the question is, how do we then take that outline and convert it into a powerful, dynamic delivery? Well, for that, you'll want to watch this video right here that will help you to convert this outline into a powerful delivery.